Psychically, I saw Joe Biden for the first time. So what happens is you are affected by the people around you. And it's not only, again, they say the auto pen and all this, but there is a point of all of this, even Donald Trump and any president, what do they know? What are they being told by the cronies? And they don't have to be a crony necessarily. I'm not even saying, because the cronies are in every administration. I already told you that. Right. So possibly in some time or space, Joe Biden is figuring out that his people screwed up the immigration thing. Now he's not going to, I doubt he'll speak publicly on it. Right. So he may not have known what they were doing and what they were up to. In other words, he knew, again, I'll tell you where it started. It started with gerrymandering. So this idea where everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God. We never even used to talk about it. Everybody did it. It was just one of those things politically. I'm not saying it's right, but you take power and you gerrymander. I mean, it wasn't like, now it's like, oh my God. Back then it was them son of a guns. Put somebody in over there. Take power. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. Give us time. Right. Right. Or, what they're doing like they did. California. But California screwed up because they admitted to gerrymandering. Right. So it's just like everybody's polarized. Everybody's like up in arms all the time. And it may be the internet age or whatever it is. No, I swear Joe Biden was here and he was laughing. And that's his thing, he'd probably laugh at, because he's been in politics so long, but he realizes his people screwed up immigration possibly. Well, because it doesn't work that way. No matter what the Democrats say, it doesn't work. I believe there are some local and state level people who have influence federally that have received money. There may be Congress people, or possibly too, and I maybe senators, I don't know, but they received money. Okay, so what's coming in is there are people working for these people that receive money, right? And again, extortion's part of that thing. China especially would be doing that, but the narcos too. Well, they receive money from some organization, and somehow they realize that it's the narcos. Right. Doesn't necessarily have to be a narco. But from what I get inside, Joe Biden was laughing because everybody was screaming about gerrymandering, but he's like, like I am. This is politics. Right. But it came up that Joe Biden may not have, again, he's getting older, but the point is, even if he was 30 years ago, he's limited by what people tell him. It was a mess. Right. Well, the way to do it is, if you're going to bring people in, you actually have to micromanage them coming in. And if you can't micromanage it, then you're going to have to do something else, because you have to. So there's going to be a certain number of people that you're going to take care of, but you have to micromanage it. Again, CIA kind of screwed up there and didn't micromanage their end of it when it came to the Afghans. Right. Or anybody else. Again, there's some people here that are trained killers from whatever nation. Right. So again, they have to go into a database. You could have a special office where people are cleared to see stuff. And then like a watch list. And then when they come up on the watch list has certain parameters. Right. But again, even people that are everyday people, they did not, again, it's like sacrificing, 40% of the people that come up here just so 60% can have a life. And some of those 60% are criminals. Again, they didn't come up here because they don't like criminal activity. They don't come up here because they don't like, corruption. It just didn't lean their way. And as soon as it leans their way, they're into it. And that's one of the issues that, the Democrats have kind of a phony thing going on. Right. Well, they're again, there's nothing nonprofit about a nonprofit. Right. Albeit, I think you should make money off of charity, but let's be honest about how the charity operates and whether it's actually doing what it says. Again, the same thing with the immigration. If you're going to help immigrants, there's a certain critical mass that you can't help immigrants if you bring too many in, and then you shut out all the Americans. And again, that doesn't help an immigrant. You can see the backlash, right? I was directly attacked by immigrants, and yeah, there were government people and maybe even conservatives that got them to do it. But you took the frickin' money. They took the frickin' money, right? Other people wouldn't even go near it. There are people that are immigrants and there are people that are U.S. citizens that wouldn't go near it. It's, some people find it to be un-American to take money to destroy a neighbor's life. Right. No matter what they call it. Again, disruption technology is a scam. So again, I didn't want to get too deep on. I was over on Threads. It came up on my my notifications. So I decided to respond on the Homar. So one of them looks like it's out of place, but they were wondering about that release. So if people had questions on one browser about the release or one social media thing about the release, I guess it's kind of a browser, right? Browser built in. Well, again, that's a service to ICE also. Because people will go, what is this race? And then the other side of it is they get 15 calls from 15 congressman aides, and they can't say anything. Just kind of answering the phone and wasting their time, right? Or an email, whatever it is. So this way, if we take care of that, right? If you call ICE and you ask them, that's pretty much what they'll tell you, or something like that, if you get through. So again, that helps them, but it also helps the people that, again, you have a right to a process when you're detained. And if ultimately a congressman can get somebody released, then so be it, or congresswoman, whatever. Don't personalize things that far. Although if they're devils, that's a different story. Personalize it if they're devils. Like the LDS. Devils! Just another cog in the wheel of religious devils. Right. And a long list of them. Correct. Running a criminal empire, apparently. God is like a commodity on this planet. But it's not God, it's Satan, actually, in the end. Right? And then you owe Satan, so you go to hell and pay Satan. Maybe that's what it is. Or at least part of it. Right? Actually, most of it is the statements you all make will condemn yourselves. Right? And the actions you take will condemn yourselves. So you all have to pay yourselves and your statements in the afterlife. Well, it works like this. Again, Hare Krishnas have a good take on it. It's in Hindu scriptures, but I don't know if the Hindus aren't as technical. And it's pretty funny because I thought they were Hindus. Well, if you go to a Hare Krishna temple, my first Hare Krishna temple was, if I'm not mistaken, Miami. And it's in, Kendall or someplace like that. So I go there, and I'm talking to the lady, and she was nice. Her husband was nice. Right? And she was at the, I think she may have been Hispanic. And her husband may have been too, but he was lighter skinned. He was the guy, I think, that made me eat the prasadam, was sitting in the sun for like 2 hours. He was like offended that I didn't want any. It was just like fruit or something. That's like holy food to them. Right. But he's also the guy that said, never doubt Krishna. But I had I think he doesn't have all the information. I had to study more of the information before I fully accepted what he said. Right. Well, because, and I knew at that point, I already knew it, but I had to go through it again. God is effectuating the best case scenario for your life. So if you're a murderer, if you're poor, that's what they did to you, not God. God is going to go through the throes of giving you the best life he can on this planet. But again, you could be a 48-hour, what do they call it, conception, and then be flushed down a toilet. That's just the nature of this planet. Don't be blaming God, right? But again, the planet is so in disarray, that is no worse than what everybody else. And actually, in some lives, they're actually saving you from that, from all this nonsense and garbage. I mean, they tortured me. I'm not being dramatic. I was tortured for decades and still being tortured. You can't just get rid of it after they know the break-in causes stuff. So again, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm not crazy because I'm thinking, well, did they take it or am I missing it? Because that's what they do. They come in and they steal something, then everything you lose, you're wondering, did they take it? Do I have it? Or was it stolen? So those thoughts, they have to pay for also. Again, God's a fully knowledgeable machine. Just because you have money on this planet doesn't mean that God winked at you or approves of what you're all doing. Right. In fact, the scriptures defined a reverse order. What happens is most Christians go back to the Old Testament. But even the Old Testament, there's progression. And the rabbis don't teach that. Well, if you go through the progression of the Old Testament, you will realize that God probably wants everybody to be a vegetarian. But again, it's whatever it is. Right. Well, again, the theory of commanding vegetarianism is what the Bible kind of goes against, which is different than just being a vegetarian. Which is something neutral. It has nothing to do with being vegetarian or not vegetarian. You're not to command people because we're not God. Right. Well, because commanding grows into these, what you see going on the planet right now. It's a sin to command people. It's just the way that's considered. Right. Well, because somebody might have to eat meat for 40 years of their life just so they can go back to God and get home. Because that's the way the planet is structured. Right. And again, some of these people are dinosaurs. They were dinosaurs on this planet and then were reborn. So that's what you're seeing. And the other people that are shocked by it are actually not from this planet. Right. And usually the victims of it. Not necessarily meat eating, just meat-eating behavior, carnivore behavior. Right. It's not alpha male, believe me. Right. Well, one of the things we recently went through was something, that's why I giggled. Some of the biggest alpha males on the planet are actually gay. There's a whole alpha male wing of gayness. So if you're alpha male, you might actually be gay. Correct. Psychologically, it works that way too. Okay. I studied gayness from a distance, but I studied it. Right. Well, I know what everything is by studying it. Because that's going to be a nice kind of house, but I wish it wasn't white. Because, if it was up for sale, I might have looked into it. If it wasn't white. Maybe that's why it's white. Maybe Hashem doesn't want me to buy. Right. I'm getting kind of old to be buying. It's just easier if you buy because you don't have to have an inspection. I don't mind inspections. It's just weird here because the inspection, and maybe because somebody's monitoring the emails and stuff like that, so they're trying to put something in my head about it. Again, it's not about me. They've done this to thousands and thousands of people and disrupted their lives and caused issue. The disruption technology, by default, is supposed to be used for law enforcement purpose, but it isn't. It's used for whatever the agent's whoop-de-doo is. Right? Because I had 10 times. It's just weird, the inspections within a few months of moving in, but I guess that's part of their thing that they do here. But no, because there's more inspections. Theoretically, there was more inspections in the place I came from than there is here. Correct. Oh, these are high dollar. I mean, really, for a rental, these are pretty high dollar. For your, as many rentals as they have here. This isn't your average apartment. Right. Well, the goal is that someday they could possibly. Right. We're gonna get back out here. And I walk back in the hallway. The goal is that they could possibly sell one of these one day. So, along the way, they also sell, not just when they're brand new. Right. Thank you, Larry. I have to go get my license here shortly. Hopefully they cleaned up their system. And the corruption's gone by the time I get there, because I'd hate to have to curse it off. Again, Josh Shapiro, Joe Biden doesn't really know everything that's going on in Pennsylvania. He just knows what they tell him. No executive does, right? No, that's what I'm getting. It's somewhere in space and time, and I don't know. Maybe he passes on and says it. I don't know, right? But he's apparently looking at it like, wait, this is not what we were supposed to be doing. Right. Well, because you're not helping immigrants at that point. You're sacrificing certain immigrants for political purpose. Right. You're bringing in too many, but again, of course, you know that a certain number will become Democratic Party voters. But to get to that equation, people are dying, people are being raped, people are becoming sex traffic victims, right? So on and so forth, right? And then, of course, Americans are then suffering. You're messing up the veteran money and everything else. I was reading it that supposedly you read Judge and you get his angle, and, and he doesn't like Trump, right? Well, Trump's the president, so you have to try to help him instead of just scuttle the entire thing. But some people, they make money their whole life hedging against the United States, right? They call it politics or something like that. But apparently he was saying that Indiana was rebelling because they weren't going to gerrymander or something. And, gerrymandering is just kind of like apple pie and Chevrolet to politicians. Actually, Chevrolet's gone or something. Can you buy one? Is there a Chevy out there still? I guess there is. Or they call it something else. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to vehicles in a while now. Since they scuttled my life in Texas, it's been kind of a... No, your emails are not secret. None of your emails are. Like the whole idea, they have to get now they have to go through the court to see your email. That's all bullshit. Right. All they need is a contact at whatever the email company is. So they sit there over coffee reading the victim's emails, figuring out how they can curse the victim's head or screw up their life. Right. Why do we do this? Good question, but because you're criminals. That's their mantra. Why do we do this? Insinuating that their victim is the reason. They know the truth. I've been around enough people to tell that they know the truth. Right. They're just pieces of shit. So all of our religions are full of pieces of shit. That's why people are mostly outside of religions. Well, more Bibles are being bought, but less people are entering churches. So what does that tell you? They realize they're all pieces of shit. You're creating an issue where you get to be the hero, all of you. We could have healed it all away ages ago. but that doesn't fit your persona of yourselves. So I'm getting the lamps ready here. Just trim the wicks. I don't know if these are long enough. I guess they're long enough. Pretty soon, that's probably the last time I'll use it. Fill the oil up. I would really like to move. I like this place, but I kind of like to move in a year. I don't know. It just doesn't have that. I guess what it is, there's supposedly something available. Maybe one of their other trailers. I don't know. Right. Although she said, the landlord said, look, we don't raise people's rents all that much. Right. We want to, because again, for them, they want to, you know, because again, the first year, what am I paying? Like 20, or wait, 12. I pay about, I guess, $16,000 a year to them. So again, the longer I stay, the more of the trailer I pay for. Right. So they're interested in, you know, residency, as if I'm buying it, but not buying it. Right. If I was younger, I may have bought one of these. I think it would have inspired me to actually buy a house even further than I did. Again, they psyoped me for years in reference to buying a home, and then, you know, hit my life so hard. Again, that's part of the psyop, to physically hit my life so hard that I couldn't even get to it. There was no even thought of it. Right. This is the first time I had thought to purchase a home, but again, at this age, I probably won't do it. Unless I had some windfall, which I should. I mean, government should pay me $1 million in a day. Right. But again, if I'm not paid, that tells me you got deep staters in the government. That's just the way it is. I mean, I'm not here to play games. Right. It's a deep state scam that I wasn't paid for all of what was done, right, including my help. 100%. The thing is, if you're a deep state crony, they pay you for nothing. Oh, this person helped us. Okay, give them 100,000. Believe me, that's how it works. Right. So all these crooks out there, people affiliated with narcos, they got government money as being quote unquote informants. Like the deep state moved against it, so nobody speaks about it as much now. But if you remember, everybody's complaining about the FBI informants being, you know, narcos actually. Right. I'm sure it's true in Santa Fe, you know, within the last 10 years. Maybe still true. Sure. Again, when you come on and say you're going to fight narcos, nobody pays attention because that's been said every administration. And they know it's a scam, that they're only, you know, they're still going to get their money. They're still going to get their cut of the narco funds until you do things like, you know, grab a you know, an oil tanker and things such as that. So wait a minute, this is real. Right. Right. Now, of course, they could say, well, it's just ousting of Maduro, and that's I don't think so. I mean, if it is, it'll, you know, people will be very angry. Right. Let's see if this no stick pan actually works. Got a nice heating disc on the bottom. Not doing it right now. I'm going to do it at some point. It's a nice little Oh, it's a big wide pan. I've never seen one that big for that cheap. Let's see if it works. Has a nice handle. That's why I bought it. It has that rubberized handle. Trying to figure out the remainder of the furniture in here. Just not sure which direction I want to go. I have a couple options. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise